2, 1, and we are live. All right, it's showtime. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress plugins A to Z, not Z.
It's interview number 73, and we have Quintin Russ and Max Johns here on the show talking to us about their plugin, PHP Vitals, and more. WordPress, the king of content management systems, powering the web with over 80,000 plugins to choose from. How do you sort the junk from the gems? Welcome to WP Plugins A to Z, where we've been keeping the pulse of WordPress alive for over 16 incredible years. Join us every week for an unrehearsed, real talk breakdowns of the latest and greatest plugins, developer and community member interviews. Some weeks, Amber and I team up to dig in. Others, I'm flying solo, unpacking WordPress news, demoing a standout plugin, or sharing tips to power up your site. No scripts, no fluff, just the good stuff from A to Z. So plug in and let's get rolling. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out down the globe today. Coming to you direct from the brewery overlooking beautiful southern Vancouver Island. Talking to some folks from the future here today. I have, for interview number 73 today, we have with us Quintin Russ and Max Johns from New Zealand, down under. They are into the future from where I'm at by at least 7 hours or so. 7 hours behind and a day ahead. That's what it boils down to. We'll be talking to them about their plugin, and it just flew right, PHP Vitals, and their developer first hosting program. And we'll be talking about their websites, their company websites, SiteHost, MyHost, and more. And so with me, I have, welcome to the show, Max Johns and Quintin.
Hello, John. Thank you very much.
Thanks for showing up on the show, guys. I greatly appreciate it. And today, well, we're going to wander into things and see how we can get this going and talk about it. Let's talk a little bit first. Tell me a bit about where you guys started and why you created the plugin, PHP Vitals.
I guess I can step in there. So PHP Vitals has really come out of a strong desire to have really good transparency from hosting companies in what you're getting. Customers would come to us and ask, are your servers fast? And we'd say, oh, how fast are your servers? And we'd look at them and go, well, they're fast, and not really have any objective way of measuring that, or any objective way of measuring where they might be coming from. Equally, within the WordPress community, there can be issues from time to time with plugins or themes. And invariably, as a hosting company, we get a lot of support requests asking whether or not the hosting's running slowly. And so PHP Vitals serves as a way of really telling you and getting clear numbers on how your hosting's performing.
Okay. What kind of numbers does it get? I've played with it a little bit, and mainly because I have my own servers, so I wanted to see where my servers were performing. I got decent B's out of it, couldn't get an A. But tell us a little bit about what it takes to get there.
So obviously there's two ways of scoring things. There's obviously the A, B, C, D, E, and F scores, and then there's the actual benchmark codes. The reality is that what is lightning fast today will be considered slow at some point in the future. And so those raw scores, if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty on how many operations per second on various different benchmarks, I think there's over a dozen benchmarks, are super helpful for squirreling away for the future, and just seeing how much progress your hosting environment's made over time, or maybe it hasn't changed over time. But the real value that we want people to take away is the percentile basis of how they compare with others in the world, or within their range, their hosting plan, or their price bracket. to get a real understanding of, like, are they getting the best price performance for their dollar, or is their hosting environment or their hosting plan working for them?
So the first time you run the test, John, you see 29 different tests happen in sequence. It takes less than a minute usually. We don't expect you to then go through and read all 29 millisecond breakdowns and work out how fast your server is in each of those ways. We just give you a grade at the end. So if you really do want to nerd out over the different ways that we are measuring PHP performance, you can. We figured that people actually just want to know, is my server fast?
Well, they do. That's the biggest thing. They want to know if their server is fast, if it's doing the thing. And, up on the screen right now, I just ran a fresh test on one of my servers to see how everything's going on it so that people can sort of see what it's doing. And I haven't, still chewing through. It's on 26, 29. So at any rate, what it does, what I'm trying to get to is what this tells the average user, how they can use the data to help them choose or find themselves a better host, or if their host is good enough.
So the answer to that comes down to the leaderboard that we have on phpvitals.com. Mm-hmm. Every single test that gets run, the person has the option of submitting it to us. We only collect the test data, nothing personal from the people who are running it. And on our website, we make the results available. So there are two ways you can look at that right now. There's the top 10 global results, or you can look through a map, find the results where you are hosting, and click through each of them. We've actually just launched version 1.2, where we're going to collect more data to make that leaderboard on phpvitals.com even more useful. We'll be adding in what sort of hosting it is. So this is shared hosting, that one's a dedicated server, and also price brackets that it falls into as well. So that you know that when you're looking at let's say you see someone who's faster than you, you know whether they're spending hundreds of dollars more, or maybe the same price as you, which changes the maths of whether you'd want to join them with the host that they're on right now.
Excellent. Right. I'm kind of lost here. I lost my thought right out the window. All right, tell us a little bit about, well, facing right, bouncing around those days where I had it all together. All right, there we go. Pull in, and okay, this is going to be a tougher one. Yeah, live tape. Remember that, folks. Don't worry, I'll clean it up in post. Okay, so tell us a bit about Webslice, SiteHost, how this works together, and how you guys are.
Who's taking that one, Quintin?
Oh, I can take that one. So SiteHost was a company that me and my brother founded back in 2004. So we've been running for 21 years, and it's a very Kiwi, I guess a Kiwi startup, Kiwi success story over here in New Zealand. And came from a desire to provide quality hosting for Kiwi developers over here. Naturally, we've been we have been more successful than I would have ever imagined. And so we think we've got a recipe that's, and some ideas that might be better served internationally. It turns out buying an international domain name can be quite hard. And so Webslice was born. So it's the same team, it's the same company, a lot of the same underlying tech, but just a slightly different name and a very different purple.
Kind of lost me there. What do you mean by buying an international domain name? What's
like getting a good .com?
Yes, nowadays
a good international domain name.
A good .com domain. Okay, now I understand what you mean.
A good .com. Yeah, sorry. Yes, keyword there.
They're extremely hard. We happen to luck into the WP Pro A to Z .com domain.
Yeah.
But then that was the brand I built on initially. I'm surprised nobody grabbed. But yeah, that you're right. That can be very different hard. What sort of sets you apart? It's like I haven't had any clients down in Australia and New Zealand for about 5 or 6 years now. But what sets you apart from your competition in your area? I know that part of the globe is a little more difficult if you're trying to go after business. You guys have got better data centers now than you had in the past, but do you face some of the pitfalls we had in Canada until we had a decent company arrive here and stop charging us an arm and a leg and a left nut for the bandwidth?
I mean, there's lots of different things you can point to, but ultimately, I believe what sets us apart is service. We publish our response times on our website. We don't have queues for phone support, and we aim to get back to people within, sort of internally within an hour and externally within 120 minutes.
Wow, that's an impressive response time. Even I'm not quite capable of that. Sometimes in hours, always within 24, but it's always a tough time. But then I'm not very big. I'm a small guy. But how about the infrastructure? Like you said, you started your hosting business 21 years ago with your brother. Did you start with a local data center there, or did you have your servers offshore? Did that?
Those early days, it would have moved pretty quickly. We did start like everyone else with a reseller cPanel account. Hosting websites and doing projects for anyone who would talk to us. But then we very quickly did move to a local data center, probably within the first sort of 18 months here in New Zealand. And then since then, we've been running our own hardware, and then eventually we're running our own network, and then eventually that evolved into running our own data center, our own infrastructure as well.
You're running your own hardware. You're not leasing your hardware from a data center?
No, we run all our own hardware.
Do you find that a serious challenge keeping it going? Just curiosity, because I lease my hardware, so that's why I'm asking.
It's a good question. It really depends. Like if you have the spares and you have everything. I mean, that's why we exist. We probably provide customers like yourself that leased hardware, John. But to answer your question, hardware has become a lot more reliable today than it was 15 or 18 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
It's remarkable.
I started my hosting service in 1999, so yeah, I remember the hardware being unreliable, and the hard drives, they were a challenge and a half.
Yeah.
Now,
NVMe has been a game changer.
Yeah, well, that it is. Now, you've spoken at WordCamp in Auckland, and you've pitched at CloudFest, etc. What sort of trends in web hosting do you see impacting the WordPress community over the next years?
Trends in web hosting. I think the biggest trend is that we have sort of these two tracks, right? One track is that we expect all the infrastructure to get better and faster and cheaper, but then we also live in a world where people's time is not getting cheaper. And so how do you value your service? How do you know you're going to get good service from your hosting? When you're actually signing up for it, and are you actually going to get good value for money? Yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest trend that I see in sort of the hosting side of the community anyway at the moment.
And with the trends that you see with the way WordPress is evolving currently, with going down, pushing Gutenberg, you've got the various page builders, which require extra resources. All of this is pulling more and more. How is that impact web servers, databases?
I don't think it's impacting us a lot. I haven't seen any impact from that. Probably the biggest thing that's impacting WordPress users at the moment would be sort of, especially around sort of AI side of things, would be a lot of bot activity. We hear from a lot of customers at the moment. There's a lot of increased crawl activity through bots, which does mean if your website isn't on a performant host, then it could be getting overwhelmed. You could be seeing increased outage alerts. These sort of events do pop up particularly for sites that have maybe a plugin or a theme that's a bit slow. And so, yeah, that's a topic that we see, and compared to 2 years ago, a remarkably increased number of conversations about.
To go back to what you're asking about page builders as well, John, on our retail brand, which is MyHost in New Zealand and Australia, we've recently rolled out Brotli compression to all users. And, that is there for a lot of reasons, but where we see the best improvement on speed, it's often because it's a page builder style site, whether it's on WordPress or another builder. We've seen overall roughly 2/3 of the load time disappear on a lot of web pages there.
Okay, so myhost.New Zealand?
myhost.nz, yes.
Yes. Sorry. It's like every time I see the .ca one, I automatically think Canadian because I own a crap number of Canadian domains because I couldn't get the .com. So
we understand.
Yeah, we very much do.
That's the joys of having some domains limited to people in the country. See, if you can't get the one you want in .com, you go with your country one. Okay, so yeah, on page builders, the page builders, a lot of them are getting better and better, and some of the others, I myself tend to focus on Elementor because I jumped in with them back in the beginning and got a legacy license with them, so cheaper for me to keep with them than to bounce to somebody else. I don't know the other page builders, minimal experience with them. Are you seeing any impacts on your servers or your services because of page builders?
Impacts how? You mean like load?
Yeah,
like
load wise, or complaints from your clients that have their websites hosted saying, and then you realize it might be a page builder issue, or maybe just the add-ons that go with the page builders, which is really a problem.
We haven't really seen a lot of reports like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some stuff happening there. Often, our customers will just sort of go, well, that's not a hosting problem, and carry on. But yeah, I don't know, Max, have you heard of anything?
No, but I'm just thinking that often when people talk to us about performance, we'll start with hardware, because even if you're running a slightly bloated site, your hardware can give you such a massive improvement on what you're already getting that it's often faster and easier to upgrade the server you're on, or the hosting plan you're on, than it is to work out, is it this page builder, is it that theme, what else is causing the problem here?
Well, absolutely.
It can be a general fix.
Absolutely. Hardware makes a world of difference. In particular examples, the computer I'm staring at right now, I replaced it about 4 months ago, whereas everything I was trying to do was slow as all, and new hardware, more memory, and everything runs lightning speed. So, hardware makes a world of difference, and every once in a while you got to upgrade. I think I upgrade.
It's always going to be.
What's that?
Oh, sorry, I was going to say it's always cheaper to throw hardware at a problem.
Yeah, I upgrade my servers about once every 2 to 3 years. I upgrade and replace my servers out. Well, let's talk a little bit about PHP Vitals again. We'll come back to it now that my brain is working again. We reviewed the plugin back in episode 652, and my daughter reviewed it. Amber reviewed it for you. She gave it a glowing review. What were the things that inspired you with the creation? We talked a little bit about it, but it was a little convoluted, so hopefully people are still hanging on at this point in the show and hear it. So aside from wanting to compare, what were the other things that made you create? Was it something you needed for yourselves, or what was it?
Yeah, we definitely needed it for ourselves. And while developing it, we found improvements that we could make to our own infrastructure. So that definitely was driving it. But probably the biggest thing was Max submitted a talk to WordCamp in Brisbane, and it got accepted. So it was a bit of an idea which had to turn into a reality quite quickly.
Now, when using,
That's a good way to work out if the community wants something, though, right? You tell them you'll give them a talk about it,
yeah,
and they said yes, please. So then we just simply had to build the plugin in a month.
well, yeah, that works too. I've done similar things, but not for the whole community, just for a client or two. Question on PHP Vitals: if someone that has their own servers, or maybe they've got a VPN or something else and they're using it on, how could they use the data that it provides? I mean, the data comes by pretty quick and then it vanishes. Do they get to see more than just, is there a way for them to see more than just the grade on it to figure out how they might be able to make improvements on their server?
Not at the moment, but we have received some feedback that people would like to be able to store that and have it over many, like have it persist over different versions. And we're just, honestly, John, we're early days on this plugin. We've just released 1.2.
Okay.
And we're keen to hear feedback. One of the pieces of feedback I received in Brisbane was that people would like to have it running on like a regular schedule and then saving those so that they could see, oh, this is what it was in March, this is what it is in April. So yeah, we're really open to feedback on what would be valuable and what would be considered improvements at this stage.
Okay, and as far as the valuable stuff goes, is there ways where you've been able to, or heard anyone of using it, to where it saved them development issues on their site and they found out it was hardware issues?
We haven't received any of those kinds of feedback, but we would really welcome them.
Yeah.
Flick us an email. We'd love to hear that. We certainly found our own issues where, like you said earlier,
Right.
you got a B that didn't have that elusive A, didn't manage to get that elusive A, where we were able to find improvements that we could make for our own infrastructure. And it was remarkable the number of web hosts that I spoke to in Brisbane at WordCamp, who, when they saw my talk, had gone and done an early install on their own infrastructure and been tweaking things. So I think it had some impact, or has had some impact, for those who are across it already. But I haven't received any end users who have said this saved me 3 hours or that kind of story yet.
Let's hope.
If we could inspire a race between hosts, if we could inspire people to work harder, we want PHP to be running as well as possible, whether you're hosting with us or not. So if we can help that bar get higher, that'd be great.
Well, that's one of the things that I'm looking towards is, how to get the bar higher and how to get better flow and better speed. Mainly, multiple reasons. One, of course, because that helps impact the SEO quality of a site. It also impacts how well people stay on a website, whether or not the e-commerce sites I do for clients are going to make a sale, because one or two times where I've left a e-commerce website because I couldn't stand the torturous load times.
Yes.
So these are the things that are needed. Now, one of the another question here on it for agencies that, someone such as myself, I don't always get people onto my servers. They want to stay with whoever they're at until I finally get them to see the light that you need to move to better hardware. But for ones reviewing hosts for clients, how could they integrate the PHP Vitals into their workflow?
When they pick up an existing website, you mean?
Yep. Well, yeah, you pick up, it's like, I finally, somebody's called me, a referral from a friend of a friend or whatever, and I go look at their website. It's hosted on X hosting company, which, there's a lot of those ones out there. And I go look at it and go, oh God, this needs some help. They're on hardware that is from 2002 still.
Well, I think the first thing to say there is that it's really hard sometimes to tell how old the hardware is.
I know it's a guess, but
yeah.
I was being facetious on it.
Fair. But it's easy to install the plugin. You can just go to the plugin directory in WordPress and install it, run it in under 60 seconds, as Max said earlier, and you get a score or a grade. And depending on your experience with running it elsewhere, that gives you an apples to apples comparison that you can then assess whether or not the hosting plan is giving you enough performance, or there might be additional time needed to look at the themes, the plugins, anything else that you might need to look at around that WordPress or WooCommerce install.
And the customer you're working with, they don't need to know even what PHP is or what any of the tests mean. They can just hit install, click the run benchmark button, and show you the results.
Excellent.
So for us, it's also about opening up the ability to compare hardware without needing to be an expert.
Yes.
Right. Well, for those out there that might have the ability to get in and do editing to their PHP configurations on their hardware, what would be some of the things that they could do to improve or allow additional things? I know a lot of things can be locked down or limited in PHP configurations. Some hosting providers allow people to tweak the INI settings. Others, they lock it down to where it can't be touched except at the server level. So what are some of the things that could be done if they have access to help improve it?
That sounds like a good idea for a blog post. It would be quite nerdy. It would be quite nerdy here to go through blow by blow.
No, just give us a brief overview of a couple of quick things that those that would know would be able to deal with, because we do have a pretty good technical audience for the show.
If you have, absolutely. If you have INI setting access, you can tweak the op cache, which will make a world of difference, and often is one of the areas that will make a world of difference for any site performing in general terms. But can I just say, like, the single biggest thing if you're getting poor performance off a plan, a hosting plan, is to probably take the result, share it with your hosting company, and see what they can do for you.
Yeah.
Because that will then give them an apples to apples comparison, and they can see maybe there's a limit in place or something else, or they might be able to suggest you a different plan, and that will just get the conversation flowing most quickly. I'm not trying to throw my competitors under the bus and have customers log a lot of support tickets, but if you're getting a bad result, I think the best place to go first would be to have it. Obviously, you can tweak these things, but have a chat with your host as well.
Yeah. Oh, always have a chat with the host, because hosting providers have got to have some controls, especially on shared servers, so that not one person doesn't suck all the resources away from everyone else.
Yes, 100%.
You got to manage all that. I've learned that one the hard way over the years. A balance. You provide a balance for maximum performance with maximum ability between the sites, that ones that get 100,000 views and the ones that get 5 views.
Yeah, nobody wants that noisy neighbor.
No, I've been involved with the noisy neighbor from time to time, and it just creates all kinds of grief.
Are we still talking about hosting, John?
It's a little bit of both. Real life, there's always noisy neighbors too. So let's see here. Where else have we got here? Now, tell us a little bit about. We only touched on MyHost. You guys have also got companies, WebSlice and SiteHost. So, what is WebSlice and what does it do?
Do you want to take this one, Max?
Yeah, sure. So WebSlice is our international brand. Quintin mentioned we run our own data center in Auckland. Even for WebSlice, it's our own hardware that we're co-located in, I think, about 5 places around the world. The containerized hosting that WebSlice offers is exactly the same as you get with SiteHost cloud containers. So that platform has been running since, I think, 2016. I'll wait for a nod from my boss on that date. And and is very, very well battle hardened, even though WebSlice is a relatively new brand. The other thing that we're bringing out, which will be WebSlice only, is serverless PHP hosting as well. We're just on the hunt for beta testers now. We do have a couple of test sites internally running serverlessly on that platform. It's been a long time in the works. We cannot wait to see it out there in the real world. We hope to see people's hosting bills plummet with that. That's probably the easiest way to put it. And to achieve that without those tricky things about serverless, like the fact that setting it up for yourself on AWS is a complicated nightmare, or cold starts and that sort of thing as well. So yeah, Webslice we launched last year. Containers have been out since then on a platform that's very well tested and operating really well for our New Zealand and Aussie clients. Serverless coming soon. Okay, so anyone who wants to be a part of the serverless beta can go to webslice.com, give us their email, and we'll sign them up.
Let's circle back to this serverless PHP. Can you kind of explain what that is? Because I don't understand it myself. What is it, and what does it do?
I think the first thing to understand is that with serverless, there definitely are servers.
Yeah, well, I realize there's always a server, but what is it? It's like dealing. It's like it took me a while to wrap my head around this headless WordPress. It was like it didn't make sense for the longest time because it's confusing. So this seems like something similar along that line. So you can help enlighten us a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like as an industry, we just want to confuse everyone every couple of years, just for the sake of it.
Got to justify those high wages.
Well, maybe. Serverless is I guess, an on-demand form of compute, and that it will scale, or the promise of it is that it will scale up and down to zero. We've built this particular product, Webslice Serverless, on top of AWS Lambda, but we've done it in a way that means that you can deploy a PHP or WordPress website on that platform in the same way you would on cPanel or any of the other control panels without modifying any code, migrating your site across, and just having it run. So you get the benefit of the scale to zero and the scale up. It's interesting that you mentioned headless, because those are the kinds of workloads that, you never know what's going to be popular. But if I was to guess, I would say headless would be a perfect workload for serverless environments where you're generating static assets or static pages, and then they're just being served without actually invoking WordPress at all.
Now, let me see if I understand a little bit about this serverless. So what happens is the PHP is contained on another server somewhere else. Someone sets up their WordPress site or their WordPress deployment on a separate server, and it calls over to the other server for the PHP stuff. Is that how I understand it, or off the mark entirely?
You're close, I think. You set it up on a server, but the server only runs when a web request comes in.
Server, so I missed what you just said. Server only runs what?
The server starts up and runs the web request when the request comes in.
Oh, okay.
So your browser connects to the server, turns it on, it does some work, turns it off. And so you only pay for the time that it's online during that request.
Oh, that's an interesting concept. Okay. That's something I'll have to dig a little bit into to see if I get my head wrapped around it and how it works.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating tech, and has a lot of benefits in terms of the scaling side of things. I guess the only typical downside, as Max alluded to earlier, is for existing applications, they need to be adapted to run in that. And that's why we built Webslice Serverless, is so that you couldn't just lift and shift or run your existing apps or your existing WordPress site without changing a single line of code.
So that applies to, say, you mean by the apps and other things like the plugins and other parts of the site.
Yeah, so themes, plugins, all of that functionality works out of the box, just like a regular WordPress site would.
Okay. So this is a project you guys are working really hard at trying to fully bring to market. All right, so anyone out there listening, if you want to be part of their beta, go over to the website and them up.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll get more information about that at the end. Let's see what else we got here. We wander through the different things. Okay, we touched, okay, SiteHost is a companion site to Webslice, is that correct?
Parent site, whatever you want to say. Yeah, exactly. It's the New Zealand brand that we're most well known for.
Okay, so you're known for the New Zealand brand, and Webslice is you're going international to try and get.
Yeah, that's right.
Correct.
That makes sense. All right. Here we go. Anything I've missed? Anything else you guys want to expand upon? What we've covered so far?
I don't have anything. Did you have anything, Max?
I mean, we could also mention to John that we run a couple of domain companies as well if we want to really confuse him.
We may as well. We'll talk about everything. I'm here. I took this interview show into where it's at now so that when I get guests on, they can talk about all of their products. Where if it sounds like a commercial, so be it. Otherwise, I'm trying to dig down and ask questions when I'm confused. Yes, I've been doing this a long time, but I still don't know all the answers. And there's still things that people throw at me and I go, I never heard of that. Okay, I got to go dig. Although don't let my daughter know that. My daughter's been trying to stump me for 5 years on the show and she hasn't yet.
A few years ago, because there's always mergers and acquisitions in our industry, there was a very small domain retailer in New Zealand who had decided he was going to try to be the cheapest .nz domain retailer and focus on nothing else. He had achieved that and made the growth that he wanted out of that company, so we ended up taking over domainsdirect.nz. What we learned from that is that people love cheap domains, and if you can offer them hosting alongside it without complicating that domain sale, it works really well. So we've taken that same model over to Australia, and over in Australia, the same sort of idea as chirpydomains.au, chirpy like a bird. So I think that's pretty much all of the brands that we're running.
Excellent.
Now, yeah, and in a similar way to how PHP Vitals is there, so you can compare any host, whether it's us or someone else. We run domaincompare.nz, which is just a straight price comparison for New Zealanders as well, where we'll put our competitors' price up. If they're cheaper than us, so be it, but we'll work harder to beat them on that. We do have this attitude in our industry that transparency ought to be more available to customers, and that we can play a role in that, even if we are one of the competitors running in the race as well.
Oh, absolutely. And there seems to be more transparency starting to appear in particularly the WordPress community over the last couple of years, which is kind of nice considering how I've seen it for the last 16.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see a bit of maturity coming to the market. We're becoming a little less, I don't know, a little less loose.
Yeah, it is, and it's becoming quite nice. And having been involved in it since, well, I was one of the people that helped mix the Kool-Aid back in the beginning. I've been playing with WordPress since version 2. So I mixed the Kool-Aid and taught courses and spoke at early WordCamps. It is nice to see.
What was it like back then?
What's that?
What was it like back then?
It was fun. It was kind of like, having been involved in the internet since the mid 90s, it was kind of the excitement of the Wild West days of the internet for the early years of WordPress. It had that Wild West feel. Then they also, when they introduced custom post types into WordPress, that changed the game for what WordPress could do, because previous to that, it was just a blog. Couldn't do anything with it. You could force it to do things, but the moment they created custom post types, the whole game changed. That was when we started getting the e-commerce stores and all the other variations. There's been a lot of really good things, and then a few bad things have happened over the years. On the whole, it's been a general upward trajectory, but there's not always been transparency and accountability. But I see that changing in the last couple of years.
That's good.
Which has helped re-excite me for this stuff. So at any rate, that pretty much wraps it all up. it brings us up. It's been a pretty decent interview. And this is a point where you guys get to tell everyone where they can find you. All of the links that I've got here will go into the show notes, of course, for everyone to go check out the links for the show. I'll leave it to both of you to let them know where they can find you and what you offer.
I'll leave that one to you, Max.
Well, we're here with our plugin phpvitals.com. That is where you can read about the plugin itself. We developed that under our WebSlice brand, webslice.com. That's containerized and soon serverless PHP hosting anywhere in the world. If you have an accent like mine or similar to mine, you could also find yourself interested in SiteHost.nz or site-host.au, because international domains are hard to get, and myhost.nz, my-host.au, for our simpler retail hosting. And if you want to find domains direct, just Google cheapest NZ domain name. And if we don't come up, let me know and I'll fix that.
Excellent.
Or ask an AI near you.
Yeah, we're doing well. We're doing well on
I'll probably tell
ChatGPT.
you as well.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on AI stuff. Yeah, AI is more information and more things coming down the pike on AI. All right, with all of that, we're going to play my extra credits. Don't you guys run away, and I'll be back to chat with you guys in a moment.
Thank you.
Reminders for the show. All the show notes can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by you, the developers, because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsa2z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show through your favorite podcast app. You can also watch the show live on YouTube at WP Plugins A to Z, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. You can also follow the show on X at WP Plugins A to Z. John can be reached directly through the website wpproatoz.com or email him at john@wppro.ca. Amber can also be contacted through the website at wpproatoz.com or email her directly, amber@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.